Here we are. Welcome, everybody, to Accelebration, where we are accelerating our celebration. Welcome to this glorious and perfect, beautiful moment that is here now, eternally. On behalf of Humanity's team, I'm honored to be here with you. My name is Timothy Noah, but if you're feeling nice, you can call me Noah. And we are graced with the presence of our wonderful guest, Tama Ewan. Welcome, Tama. How are you doing today?
Hi, just fine, thank you. It's lovely to be here.
So let me share with our audience a bit about who Tama is and what she would like to share with us today. So Tama's work is largely inspired by the wonders of the natural world and influenced by the ancient indigenous weaving wisdom that recognizes the sacredness of the art and the energy of peace that it carries. She has been designing and weaving tapestries for the past 45 years and has exhibited her work across the globe, ranging from Poland to China and Venezuela. We actually Tama and I met on a mentoring session with our masterclass called A New Kind of Power with Deborah Poneman and Christy Whitman. And here she is today. And particularly, one of the things that we are featuring today is one of Tama's programs, which is on Humanity Stream Plus, called Star Watching. She has another one on there called Weaving Peace. And as we like to say, whether you're new to tapestry, weaving, and fiber arts, or a skein of yarn makes your heart sing, you will definitely find Tama's practice interesting. And we would like to show you in our time together how artistry is much more than just making something, how artistry itself can embody a divine practice and bring forth a whole range of insight. So without further ado, Tama, can you please tell us, what is ancient indigenous weaving wisdom?
Sure, it's really my favorite topic. There are many cultures around the world who have woven, and many cultures that believe that weaving is a sacred path. And especially in the North American indigenous cultures, weaving is considered a sacred path because it is believed to transmit the energy of peace. And this is actually very easy to understand. It's very simple because in weaving, every movement is followed by its opposite. You go over, under, followed by under, over. There's this constant movement of energy flow really in weaving. And also in weaving, you're using both left and right hands equally, which means you're using both left and right sides of the brain equally. And so that constant repetition of opposite movements using both hands, both sides of the brain, creates a balancing effect in left and right brain functioning. And this creates a feeling of harmony or peace or just simple happiness in the weaver. And that is actually transmitted through the weaving. So it's really interesting that the ancients knew this, and modern sort of neuroscience is discovering these very interesting things about how to balance the brain, and meditation does it, but weaving does it as well. So it's really quite a wonderful thing.
This is wonderful, Tama. Thank you for sharing with us. And just in case our audience hasn't noticed or understood, that behind you, Tama, are a couple of your works. That those are tapestries, one on your right and one on your left. One is a bit further away, but these are room-sized tapestries that are behind you. How can you give us some sort of insight as to your process on working on these? How long do they take to make? How do they come forth through you? And what sort of insights are you picking up along the way?
Well, that's a very good question. And each tapestry probably has some kind of an inspiration in the natural world. The tapestry that you can see back in the corner, Star Watch, that came from an evening of star watching. My brother brought his telescope here to Moonrain. I live in the Gatineau Hills, north of Ottawa. It's very rural. There's very little light pollution, so it's a wonderful place for observing the sky. And my brother brought his telescope, and we had a wonderful evening, just sort of family and friends. And he showed us these incredible sky objects that I had never seen through a telescope before. And he also sent me an image that he had taken through his telescope of the Whirlpool galaxy. And I was so inspired and so amazed that I did a series of drawings, and then I started the tapestry. And it took perhaps 9 months to weave, but I'm not a fast weaver. And I only weave for like the mornings usually. Yeah, but I can show you my loom perhaps a little while. I can take the computer over, but everything is hand woven. I use a technique that I call finger weaving. So I'm actually picking up the threads by hand. I don't use any mechanical devices to open them. I like to be in touch with the strings, to feel the tension and to feel the tension of the weft as you're moving it through. So, yeah.
This is beautiful, Tom. And again, we met originally, just for context, some time ago on a new kind of power program, and you came on the mentoring, and you had shared some sort of, as I remember, a bit of reservation, or wondering if your work is really worth it, or if it will be recognized. And so how do you deal with this, Tommy? Because I'm looking back, and these are masterpieces in your background. You have multiple, they're all over the room, and I could tie a knot. That's about all I can do with a thread. So it's just wonderful how you're doing this. How do you navigate this through the days?
How do you navigate a career when you're basically a very shy person? You have to really push hard sometimes, and the arts sometimes require a lot of pushing. But I think that's why I live here in this very rural environment, where our nearest neighbors are about 1 kilometer in each direction, and the general store is about 6 kilometers away. But I'm really quite a shy person, and I would rather just be in my studio weaving and let somebody else look after everything else. But I haven't found that person who wants to do that. So anyway, because there are so many beautiful tapestries, I've had a lot of exhibitions, and the work somehow has to sell itself. So anyway,
True.
I can't, I'm not the right person to give sort of marketing advice to artists.
Well, your humility is much appreciated, Tama, because these are, again, masterpieces. Uh, if we don't mind, Jim, would you mind? Let's share the clip on Tama's program called Star Watching, just to give you a sense of what she's recorded and what we are now presenting on Humanity Stream Plus.
With my most recent tapestry, Star Watch, that was completed this past spring during COVID lockdown in Canada, the idea began with an evening of star watching in August 2018. I thought I would take you through my creative process by telling its story, as it represents full circle in the personal mythology that has inspired tapestry here at Moonrain. My brother and amateur astronomer Harry Ewan brought his telescope up to Moonrain for an evening of star watching during the annual Perseids meteorite shower in 2018. The name Moonrain came to me while I was watching my first meteorite shower 45 years ago, at the very beginning of my weaving time. The star watching evening in August 2018 was a small family gathering to celebrate the passing of time. Moonrain Center is situated in the Gatineau Hills of West Quebec, about an hour north of Ottawa, the capital of Canada. There's very little light pollution up here in the hills, and on a clear night, the sky is absolutely breathtaking. Star watching through Harry's telescope and listening to his explanation of sky objects, as well as seeing his astrophotography, was so inspiring to me that I began a series of pastel drawings of the Whirlpool Galaxy. In the drawings, tiny butterflies appeared, barely visible. I explained to my brother that in my tapestry, the arms of the galaxy are filled with tiny butterflies, that in the dark arms, the butterflies are being pulled into the center, and in the light arms, they are being released. My brother then sent me a NASA image of the solar magnetic field of the sun, in which I see the forms and patterns of butterflies and flowers in the emanations of the energy that is exploding from the surface of the sun.
Bravo. So again, this is on Humanity Stream Plus, and there's another one of Tama's programs on there too. So be sure to check those out. Any of our stream mates here. And Tama, with this, we have a question from our audience from Melinda, and Melinda says, "Hi, Tama. I've done a bit of floor loom weaving using the treadle. I think I hear you say you lift all the threads by hand. Would you please talk a bit more about the process? Do you work strictly by inspiration, or do you have a pattern you work off of? Thank you."
Well, I do drawings first. And so the drawings are the inspiration for my weaving. And I will sort of redraw a large outline onto a sheet of plastic and use that behind the loom as a cartoon. It's really just a very rough guide. And I make all sorts of changes. So I don't follow minutely so like by measurements. It's all very intuitive. And I work on frame looms, large frame looms. So the warp is a continuous warp strung over nails or over pegs, up and down, and I lift all the threads by hand. So when I open the shed to weave through, I lift those threads by hand. I used to have a system of heddles, but I took it off because it was slowing me down. My fingers are actually faster now than, yeah. And in weaving tapestry too, you're not weaving across the whole width of the weaving width. You're often just weaving in little sections. So you're only opening the threads that you need to weave through. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
I think it does. Thank you, Tama. And forgive me for not knowing this. I'm completely new to weaving. So are you taking it one thread at a time? Are you like when you get in the spiral in the spiral galaxy one you have in the background? Are you taking a blue thread and making that section? How do you actually fill it in? Is it line by line, or is it color by color? How do you do that?
It's section by section. So in a sense, when you think of the outline or the cartoon that you're going to use, it's almost like a child's coloring book, just the large sections. And you weave a tapestry section by section, starting from the bottom. So you have to always be weaving on a base. So you have to build it up. It's really a building technique, actually, from the bottom up. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tom. And Melinda says that's very interesting. Yes, thank you for talking about your process, and we'd love to see your loom. So hold on tight, Melinda. We will, Tama will be giving us a tour shortly of a brief tour of her studio.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
have
sure.
another question, Tama. Go
Okay.
ahead.
No.
Uh, we have a question from Lindsay. She says, I have a 10-year-old son who is autistic, and he loves to weave, not quite on your scale, but when and how should I introduce your kind of weaving to him? It's amazing how it calms him down when he's out of sorts.
That's a wonderful question, and it's a very good comment. See, this energy, this peaceful energy, that's why your son is calmed down, and I'm really happy about that. My daughter Gabby and I were once giving an Artist in the Schools project in a school in Quebec City, and they didn't tell us, but it was to the class of ADD students. It was a whole class of ADD students, and they didn't tell us, but we thought, okay, well, something was a little bit odd, but we're very busy as we're trying to teach weaving to everyone, and we don't sort of notice everything. And anyway, they were all weaving. They all wove. There were no disruptions. Nobody was getting up and running around, and the principal and other teachers kept coming into the class because they couldn't believe that this class was just weaving. And that was basically when the teacher told me that they didn't want to tell us in advance because they were afraid that we would be frightened to come and give the workshop. But that's how really miraculous weaving is, and that's exactly what it's doing. It's calming the transference of messages and energy across the brain and across the body, and it has this it gives you peace. So, but was it Lindsay? Was it Lindsay who asked the
Yes.
question? Sorry. Yes, Lindsay, I do have a book that's available called the Living Tapestry Workbook, and it shows you both how to build a small frame loom and how to weave on it, how to warp it, all the steps. It's meant for absolute beginners, and it's really the technique that we teach to children in the Artists in the Schools projects as well. So it might be perfect for your son. And there's directions of how to build a small loom that I built myself in it, and I am not a carpenter. So just 4 pieces of wood with nails at the top and nails at the bottom. And believe me, I'm not a carpenter, but I had to do this for the book, and it works perfectly. And looms, frame looms like that, it's basically just 4 pieces of wood with nails at the top or nails at the bottom. And you don't even need nails. You could put a continuous warp around the frame. You could even use a picture frame, any frame that you buy in a secondhand store, to weave on. And anyway, the directions are very, very simple. And because weaving, the actual technique of weaving tapestry is the same basic technique of all weaving everywhere. Tapestry uses only the most basic technique, and weaving has been done on this planet since the Paleolithic, and it's exactly the same technique that I use today, that all tapestry uses today, as was done there. So weaving has accompanied human cultures since before recorded time and throughout recorded time. So to me, it's this wonderful constant. We, in this day and age with everything moving so rapidly, and we expect everything to move so rapidly, weaving is a constant, and it's peaceful. And it connects to me, it connects me somehow through weaving to all humans who've either woven or worn clothing. We all wear clothing that is basically woven. So this technique has accompanied human cultures throughout time. So that, to me is very special.
It is, Tom, and we can see you are embodying the peace that it provides. How your presence is just so peaceful, which is, I'd say, it's no coincidence. So that what you're sharing, how much you have woven, that you're just exuding this sort of peace. Would you mind repeating the name of your book? Some people are asking about if you could repeat the name of this book of which you were just speaking.
It's called the Living Tapestry Workbook. And if you just type in the Living Tapestry Workbook, you should come up to the page where you can find it. Yeah. And if you have
Beautiful,
any
Tama.
questions, you can email me. Yeah.
Did you say to email you or?
Yes, also on the Moon Rain Center webpage, there is at the bottom of the page are the links, and there's a contact, so a contact page. So if anyone has any questions, they can email me. Yeah, sure.
Thank you for the invitation. This ties in what you're sharing about sharing the process of weaving, I believe, with a project you have called the Visionweave Project. Could you tell us a bit about this?
Yes, I was thinking about a project. I wanted to do a project. I was asking myself, the news is filled with, with war, disaster, terrible events. And I was thinking, is that what people want? And then what do people want? What do I want? Well, I want peace. But I didn't want to project that onto everyone. I wanted to create a project in which I could ask people what they wanted. What did they envision for the earth? What did they wish to see in the future? And so I created the Visionweave Project. And I think I thought about it for a couple of years, and first did it in 2007 in France. I think I had made several proposals here in Canada, but they weren't accepted. But I was invited to exhibit in Lyon in France, and they asked me to do a project or to demonstrate weaving while I was there. And I said, well, why don't we do this Visionweave project for the first time? And we did, and I was really, in sort of conceiving it, I was thinking, well, people might be too shy to open up and express what they want, and I was afraid that nobody would want to participate. But what I found was that people loved it, and people loved this idea of expressing what they wished to envision for the future. And what I have found in the numerous times that we have done the project here in Canada and in Europe, and whether we've done it in a library or a school or a community center or outside in a public park, in a street festival, the most common vision that people express and then interweave into the tapestry is peace on earth. And so I think that that's very significant, and I needed to know that. I needed to know that that's what people everywhere wanted, and people of all ages too. So that was very significant. And my daughter and I have done the Visionweave Project with literally thousands of school children in Quebec. And so when they do the project, they not only learn how to weave, but they express their vision for the future. So I think it's a very positive project. Yeah.
Yes, it
And I've
is.
been
And we
thrilled.
have.
Sorry, I've been sort of thrilled and grateful that I've had the opportunity to do that, really, and to engage with people of all ages, the public, communities, arts councils, through this really wonderful and positive project.
And we're great. We are grateful that you are too, Tama. Clara is asking us, as you're speaking about uh, your daughter weaving or and working with children, how young can you start a child in learning to weave?
Well, it probably depends on the child, but um, I would say, well, my daughter learned to weave when she was 3 or 4, mostly because I mean she sat on my lap as I was weaving when she was a baby or a toddler, um, but I think by 4 she was weaving her own little pieces, her own little tapestries. I would say if you're going to be doing it with them, 4, 5, 6, but maybe 7 or 8, they can really just do it on their own. Younger children can too. They can learn it and do it, but they will want a little more supervision or help. I think by 8, they're fine on their own.
Wonderful. And so Stella is asking, so given that you work with your daughter to teach weaving, how else does the mother-daughter relationship impact your practice?
Hmm. Well, that's a good question. I think it's very nice to have another creative spirit very close by who really understands the creative process. So that's important. That's very important. Um, but does she influence my designs or my weaving? No. She sometimes gives me help if something isn't right. She has a very good eye and she can sort of push me in the right direction. So that's really good. And she's very much a problem solver too in community tapestry projects. Sometimes we've been doing more complex projects with actual designs, and sometimes when the public are weaving on, you want them to enjoy what they're doing. So sometimes there's a lot of mistakes or things that we wouldn't do ourselves perhaps, and she can always make them work. So that is wonderful. Yeah. So I think it's been a very positive relationship in terms of creative collaboration. Yeah. We've also collaborated on international textile arts events. Moonrain Center has organized a very important triennial, textile arts triennial, which we did 3 editions, 2010, 2013, and 2016. And they incorporated exhibitions with international artists, workshops, installations. There were international artists here on site doing outdoor fiber art installations along a walking trail here at Moonrain Center. So it's all been very dynamic and very really quite extraordinary. And I think one of the biggest impacts that our Triennale has had on the region is that fiber art is accepted as contemporary art in the region. Sort of 20, 30 years ago, it was difficult to get a fiber exhibition in a public art gallery in the region. And now the doors are open to fiber art. They welcome it, which is extraordinary. So that's been a wonderful sort of evolution to watch and to participate in, that really all fiber artists in the region and beyond can benefit. Yeah. So that's quite significant. Yes. And the Triennale was Gabby's idea, my daughter's idea, to do a textile Triennale and to bring regional emerging artists together with international professional known artists, and to have the wonderful kind of cultural exchange that happens when you put artists together from different countries and different backgrounds, styles. Yeah. So it's been quite amazing, really quite amazing to have participated in these really very exciting and positive events. Mhm.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tama. And as you're speaking, you're sharing with us about going to show your weavings and traveling to put them on display. We have a comment from Richard. Richard says, I'm a Stream Plus member and watched both of your videos. I love them both. I'd like to hear more about your property and the weavings you have installed in nature.
Well, thanks. That's a very interesting question. We have a 100-acre property. When my ex-husband and I first came here in the very early 70s, properties were only sold in 100-acre lots because those were the old farms. And it was in the 70s, and at that point, sort of the older farmers were dying off, and the sons all were moving to the cities. So there was this exodus from the rural farming communities that had been. So we bought this property, and it was $12,000 at the time, actually, in the late 70s. But that was still quite a bit for an artist and a musician. But the dream was to create an art center here, and I stayed with the dream. So here we are, and part of the question too was outdoor art, textile arts. Textile arts are very interesting, and natural fibers are very interesting because they come from plants usually. The natural fibers that I've used for outdoor installations are hemp, linen, and ramie, and they can last for years outside in the elements. It's really extraordinary. I had a piece that I had in an outdoor exhibition quite a long time ago, and when it was over, I brought it home and hung it on a tree outside in the yard. And it was there for a number of years, and it was not the weather that disintegrated it. It was the cows that came onto our property and were sort of walking through it or rubbing their necks and their heads up against it. That really sort of was not good for it. But it's amazing how strong natural fibers really are. Yeah, they have a vitality. They're very close to nature. So it's very interesting.
Yes, it is.
Does that
And
answer the
so
question?
it certainly does. Thank you, Tama. And you hinted, you told us that you stayed with the dream, and right now you're in your studio here. Of course, we see a couple of tapestries. Would you mind giving us just a quick view of with the camera, showing us a bit more of your scene here, just
Yeah.
so we can
Okay.
get a scope of the size of these?
Yeah. I'll try. We could go back here. So it's hard for me to see. This is my loom. This is the back of the loom, though, and you see I talked about a cartoon with that I draw the main lines on plastic, and can you see this is the tapestry I'm weaving at the moment. I'm weaving it on its side, though, so you probably can't really tell what it is. And I'm going to try to do this. This is the drawing for it. Shoot.
Tama will be back with us shortly. I don't know if you saw that wonderful blue here, but that is wonderful. And again, Tama's working with looms that are tall. I don't know too much about tapestry, so this is just all new for me. I'm guessing, Jim, she must have lost connection. So let me just take this brief moment while we're waiting
We
for.
just lost her video. She's still connected.
Oh, we just lost her.
We'll see if we get her video.
She's still connected. Okay. I'm sure she'll pick it back up. As soon as she's back on here, we'll get back to the conversation. but I'd just like to take this moment to share with everybody some wonderful news. Is you may have heard about our one-for-one program that we have hinted about through the past couple of weeks, that we've been working on offering a one-for-one, meaning for every Humanity Stream Plus subscription that is purchased, we give one away. And so we're very excited about this, and we're still sorting out the details, but we're pleased to announce that we found one of our first partners. Of course, in order to do this, in order to we for every purchased that we get for Humanity Stream Plus, we give a subscription away to somebody that is underserved and underprivileged, somebody that would not even have a clue to look for such a platform, let alone to afford it. And so we need to work with other organizations in order for this to happen, because we are not we don't have these people just in contact, at least not at the moment. So we have just started a partnership with a veterans organization, an organization that serves veterans who return to the United States. And so we are working diligently to get get this process started, so that your Humanity Stream Plus subscription is actually giving a subscription, a membership, to somebody that is facing some serious psychological issues. And so we will have much more detail about this as this unfolds. But we're just so pleased to announce this with all the programs that are in Humanity Stream Plus, including Thomas, including our recent program with Michael Beckwith and Neil Donald Walsh, including all of our science programs, and just I'm guessing in the hundreds by now of programs that are on there. These transformational educational programs that are on there. You can just take a moment. If you're watching us now, you're familiar with this sort of media, this sort of presentation, this sort of education, where we're just shining a light on the power that is within us and all around us, and we're saying it in all different ways. And so I know that you listening right now, you know the power of this. You know the power of this reinforcement, this support structure that is in your life, whether it's through watching these videos, joining us on these calls, or reading the books with which you're familiar. You know the power of this. Now just imagine a world where you are facing some very strong challenges, very tough challenges, and you don't even have access to these videos. You don't have access to the books. You don't even know that this sort of teaching exists. These are the types of people that we are being connected with. These are the sorts of people that you are providing for. So when you sign up for Humanity Stream Plus, you are directly contributing a membership, a whole new life in a sense, to people who have been suffering some pretty serious challenges. So I think we're good. Thank you for bearing with us, and thank you for your support. I think Tom is back with us, Jim. Is this right? There we go.
Hi.
Look at this. Wow. Is
Okay,
this the painting, Tom?
it's the drawing and it's on its side, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to move my computer to get it. I'm drawing it on its side because when I weave it, I'm gonna turn to the, when I weave it, the yellow line in the drawing is gonna go through it horizontally, and I thought I could do that better horizontally, so I'm weaving the tapestry on its side, and that's why the drawing is on its side. So, and I don't know, you may not be able to see this. I don't know if you can see this, but these are all the strings. Can you see that?
We can see this. Very
So this
fine.
is how so this is how I do it. And I can't both hold the camera and do it. I'm afraid I'm going to hit the wrong button again.
That's fine. Wow.
So, okay. All right. So I'll just keep walking around and hope I don't hit the wrong button. Yeah, so that's the Star Watch tapestry, and see here. This is a tapestry called Enter the Spiral that I'm sorry, I wish I knew a little bit more how to do it. It's not, it looks very, very pale. It's actually a little more colorful than that. Here is, let's see, some more, and this. Let's see if I can get that. That's a tapestry that I did while taking that a new kind of power course, actually.
Huh.
So that's, sorry,
Wow.
I wish I knew how to do this.
It's truly wonderful, Tama. All these things. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so as I was listening to the sessions that Deborah and Christy were giving, I was weaving, and I would listen to them over and over. Some of them were just so significant, you know, that here's another loom. With a tapestry started on it, which is like an aurora tapestry. We were doing this in a school, and it was a wonderful project with 3 schools actually, and the finished tapestry was going to hang in a library, and then COVID came and it had to stop. So, and yeah, and the one in the center, Hado Unfolding, is actually one of my favorite recent tapestries, because Hado is the Japanese word that means the intrinsic unique vibration of every living thing. And I read about Hado in a book by Dr. Masaru Emoto, the late Japanese scientist who worked with water, who photographed crystals of water in specimens of water that had been sort of impregnated with the vibrations of words like peace, love, gratitude, and they made these most amazing crystalline forms. So, yeah, so I was very, very inspired by his work and did that tapestry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this is all just beautiful, Tama. This may be I'm not sure if this question makes sense for you, but how many tapestries would you say you've woven in your life?
I think about 200 actually. I once did a count, maybe 10 years ago. I did a count, and it was pretty close to 200. Yeah, a lot of them are large. I really like large. I think large. My work is really all about energy, and there's something expansive about it. I'm not happy working small. I do occasionally for sort of exhibitions that want small work, and I'm in an exhibition in England right now of small work, which is very nice. It's very, very nice to do that. But I prefer. I kind of need. I need to be expansive in the energy of my weaving.
Makes sense. And you were sharing, Tama, that one that you wove, that beautiful, well, they're all beautiful, that you were weaving while experiencing a new kind of power program. Can you share a bit more of uh, you know, how that came was that inspired by the program? Were you working on it when the program started? How do you think that it impacted the process as you were weaving that one?
That's a very good question. Actually, the design came before I started the course, and the design came actually out of a meditation group that that I belonged to that had to stop, but it started again on Zoom, and so that was a wonderful kind of a lifeline, um, and um, and I think we were all a little bit in shock with the lockdowns. I think maybe the lockdowns were a bit more stringent here in Canada, and I think we were all really suffering and trying to find our way through the pandemic. How to establish normalcy in your own life, and weaving this tapestry and doing the meditations was all about really opening the heart and energy coming out of the heart center. And so I tried to depict that in terms of a flower and rays of light coming out, and uh, so that was the idea. But certainly listening to the replays of Deborah Poneman and Christy Whitman's courses, and doing the meditations that they were leading in those practices, that I was able to weave, and I was able to really just get into the weaving. Because I think the big thing for all of us throughout this time is to stay focused on love and gratitude and peace, and to keep centered and to keep joy in your life no matter what is going on out there, and to try to build up a kind of a buffer, so that we can protect the parts of ourselves that are bombarded by the news, really. Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
Does that
And
answer the question?
absolutely. Virginia says, thank you for the tour. And I thank you too. We got to see the wonderful roof, the big roof that you have. And just, I didn't realize that you had so many tapestries in there. There's at least a dozen that I saw, which is incredible. You're
Oh,
working
yes.
on all these things.
Yeah, they're probably about 20, and then small ones, there's probably about 30 at least, or more.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, this was really recycled. This building was built from recycled trusses from a barn that had to come down, and it's been a work in progress, to insulate it and weatherproof it, and yeah. And I actually used to love having open studios and exhibitions here, and so this is kind of like that. It'd be lovely to see the people who who are asking the questions too, because it's really nice to be able to share. Thank you.
It is. Thank you for sharing, Tom. And Dan is asking, if someone were interested in purchasing your weavings, where would they go? Where would they go to purchase or look at your weavings?
Well, you can go to my website, which is moonrain.ca, and go to the bottom of the where the links are at the bottom on the homepage. There's the contact page. So I actually my website isn't very commercial. I just have the book for sale on it. I know, and it's a fault, and I'm actually working up to having a gallery, to making a gallery page, but we're not there yet. And yes, so they could email me, but I have made up a folder of images and actually a price list, actually. So I can mail things out if people want or interested. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, we've been humanities team. We've been saying lately to pursue truth for truth's sake, and so it seems that you are certainly weaving for weaving's sake, Tama, which is a beautiful thing. and it certainly reflects
Thank
in
you.
all of your work.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I once heard that attended a lecture on art, and I heard that the speaker said that art is made up of three things: truth, beauty, and love. And I really feel that. I really feel that, and I heard that, and I have never forgotten it because I think it's true. I think it's right.
It's certainly what your pieces convey, Tama. Can you tell us a bit on your creative process? When do you feel most inspired? How does inspiration come forth through you? How have you navigated inspiration over the course of your weaving career?
That's very interesting because the natural world is so inspirational, and things that happen are inspirational. But I think I spend a lot of time letting a design kind of gestate, because to me it's energy. And like the tapestry that I'm weaving right now, I actually did this design, I think, mm, maybe June, July. And then I had to leave it sit because somehow there was so much energy in it. I didn't think I needed to grow into it. There was so much strong energy, almost like light coming in. And I really felt like I had to evolve until I could feel that I could embody that. And I think one of the things that energy means is trying to stay positive, and in this world with everything that is going on, we need to stay very positive. And that was what I felt this tapestry is about. So my work is extremely personal, it's personal. And yeah, so it's taken me a while to really get the courage to weave it. Yeah, and a lot of tapestries are like that, because I know it's going to be a long haul. Now I take at least usually a year to do them. So the inspiration has to be strong enough and kind of embedded enough to carry you through, to kind of nourish you all through that weaving process, the time that it takes to weave the tapestry. Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about this time as you're sharing that you, with this one piece, you felt inspired, you felt it, you felt its essence, and you felt that you needed to grow into it. What can you tell us a bit more of this? Like, are you do you need to be in the right state of mind when you're working, or do you feel like you need to experience certain life experiences in order to feel that?
It's not so much life experiences, but yes, you need to be in the right frame of mind. But weaving can help get you into a better frame of mind. So it's a two-way street. But really, with the design, it was more that design that I showed you, the butterfly. I know it's on its side, so you can't really tell. But there is such strong kind of light coming in. And I really felt like I had to, in some way, um, feel infused with light to do it, and to so that the light will radiate from the tapestry too. So it's like a very internal process, kind of a meditation, kind of a process of concentration, and building. So, sort of 4 months ago, I was not ready to weave it, not ready at all. And yeah, I think with like meditation, thinking about it, drawing, I did 5 drawings, 5 big drawings of it, all the time, trying to get to know what it was I was trying to express. Yeah. And yeah, and it takes courage. Yeah. And it takes energy. Yeah.
It certainly is shining through, Tama. When you put the camera on there, I could just see the vibrance of the colors, the palette that you're using, and the just
Thank you.
the contrast, the sort of angular presence in this bright blue. It's a beautiful piece. I'm very
Thank you.
excited to see it play out, to see it finished.
I will definitely send you an image of it when it's done. Yeah.
Please do. The
Yeah.
painting
Yeah.
itself is beautiful, let alone the whole tapestry.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
D, so we have a question from D. Meyer is asking, is it hard to sell your creations after birthing the creation for over a year? Is it hard to part with them?
Um, yes and no. It's not really. Although I really like to, after I've woven a piece, I like to be able to live with it for a while because you've put so much energy into it. You need to see it. And the tapestry that I showed you that I wove during a new kind of power, I finished it and it was sent off to an exhibition immediately, and I was extremely empty afterwards. And I actually could only start to really weave again when I got it back. So it was on tour for a while. So it's interesting, but no, I love it when people buy my work. I love it. I'm I'm very happy to send my work off, and I think it's a wonderful thing for an artist that somebody wants your work and wants to live with it. I think that's really a beautiful thing. That's full circle.
Yes, this is. And again, please check out moonrain.ca to view all of Tama's works, and you may end up with a tapestry in your home after seeing this.
That would be great.
Great. So Tama, as we draw to a close, is there anything you'd like to, any thoughts you want to share with the audience over all these years of living as an artist and keeping, as you say, keeping it, staying true to this vision after weaving hundreds of tapestries and displaying all over the world and still weaving and still refining your process. What would you share with our audience in these last minute or so as to the insights that you've gained over all these years and experiences?
Well, I think the amazing thing is that it just keeps growing. It just keeps deepening and enriching my life, because I've learned so much about weaving, the native spirituality, the ancient weaving wisdom. That really nourishes me. I think at one point I was going to give up because it's very hard to make a living as an artist, any kind of artist, really, usually. And I was going to give up, and then that was when I discovered that weaving was a sacred path. I was actually exhibiting in Guatemala at the Museo Ishel, the Museum of Textiles in Guatemala City. And Canadian Foreign Affairs had organized a tour of my work through Central and South America. So that was wonderful, but it was finding out that weaving was a sacred path. Talking to anthropologists and curators in the museum there, and in talking to native weavers, because I gave workshops with indigenous weavers as well. And it's really that this craft, this ancient craft, has nourished me, but it's also a beautiful symbol. There are vertical threads interwoven with horizontal threads, and it's a symbol for interconnections. It's a symbol for togetherness, oneness, a whole. It's an amazing symbol. So I think weaving is going to come into its own in the future just because it's this contemporary metaphor for the interconnection that we know is so vital to life on the planet.
Wow, and that is our final words, Tama. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your woven pieces and your inner peace that you're just embodying, you're injecting into your artwork and sharing with us here now. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. It's really been a pleasure.
Yes, it is. And so thank you all for joining us too. Join us next week. I believe Jim may have a graphic. Here we are. Next week, Steve will be joining us with Bruce H. Lipton, PhD, and they will be talking about reprogramming the subconscious. You'll definitely want to join us then. And then in the meantime, please continue to enjoy this eternal perfect moment here now. And we will see you next week. We love you all, and God bless.